All right, let's get into it. Today, we're looking at something pretty dark, but incredibly important, the anatomy of a warmonger. We're going to break down how a single person with a single radical idea could actually set the entire world on fire. And it really kicks off with this huge, almost unbelievable question, right? How on earth does a failed artist, a decorated, but let's be honest, an otherwise unremarkable soldier become the very engine of a world war? Well, the answer, it's a pretty chilling and frighteningly logical path. You see, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm, this dangerous mix of one man's deep personal bitterness and the collective trauma of a whole country. So let's dig into how that actually happened. Okay, so our story really starts in the rubble and ash of World War I. This part is all about the humiliation, the national shame that basically created the perfect soil for extremism to grow. Now, this is absolutely crucial. A massive national defeat gets completely reframed. This idea, the stab in the back myth, it becomes this incredibly powerful political weapon. The story goes that the army didn't actually lose on the battlefield. No, they were betrayed by people back home. And this poisonous idea, well, it gets weaponized later with absolutely devastating results. And then, on top of that myth, you have the Treaty of Versailles. For Hitler and a lot of others, the harsh terms of that treaty weren't just a political problem. No, they felt it as a deep personal insult, an attack that they believed could only be answered with violence to get back their lost pride. So, with all that burning resentment as fuel, a very specific ideology starts to take shape, a worldview built completely on struggle, on conflict, and on expansion. At its very core were two really lethal ideas. First, this twisted version of social Darwinism that saw all of human history as just a brutal, constant fight between races. And second, this belief that war was the ultimate sign of a nation's strength and health, while peace was just a sign of weakness and decay. And this whole worldview had a very specific goal, and it can be summed up in one word: Lebensraum, living space. The idea was brutally simple. For the German people to survive, they had to conquer huge chunks of territory in Eastern Europe. Make no mistake, Lebensraum wasn't just some vague ambition or a single policy. It was the fundamental reason for everything. It was the engine driving the entire state towards a pre-planned war of conquest. Of course, having an ideology is one thing, but getting an entire nation on board is something else entirely. So this next part is all about the mechanics of power, how a broken, fractured country was convinced to put all its faith in one person's absolute will. And the conditions were, well, tragically perfect. You had the economic collapse of the Great Depression, which created total desperation. And then that desperation was masterfully exploited using all the tools of modern propaganda to build this unshakable cult of personality around one leader. This central message was incredibly simple and powerful. Germany is broken, and I am the only one who can fix it. See, he wasn't just running as a politician, he was positioning himself as the nation's savior. And the way he grabbed power, it was so methodical, so clear. It was a three-step process, really. First, you exploit the economic crisis to get your foot in the door. Then, you start tearing down the entire democratic state, piece by piece. And finally, you turn the whole country into one giant war machine, all pointed towards your ultimate goal. Which brings us to the final and, frankly, inevitable endgame. All of that ideology, all that resentment, all that consolidated power, it had been building up like a pressure cooker. This section is about that final, violent release. The last few steps were deliberate. They were calculated. It started with secret rearmament, totally ignoring international treaties. It continued with the complete indoctrination of Germany's youth, getting a whole new generation ready for war. And it all led to the 1939 invasion of Poland. So you have to understand, the invasion of Poland wasn't some simple border dispute. It was the logical conclusion. It was the moment when more than a decade of radical ideology was finally put into practice on a truly horrifying scale. And the result of all this? A war with destruction on a scale nobody had ever seen. But it wasn't just the battlefields. The machinery of the state itself was turned inward, used for the systematic genocide of millions. It was industrial-scale annihilation, and it was all fueled by that worldview we just talked about. When you boil it all down, what you have is a global catastrophe, where one man's personal failures, his deep-seated resentments, and his twisted beliefs were projected onto the entire world stage, pulling humanity into an absolute abyss. So that leaves us with one last, pretty sobering question to think about. I mean, the history is right there in front of us, but the lesson, that's something we have to keep learning, over and over. What happens when a single radicalized vision is given absolute, unchecked power?